Good day, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of CANTO Conversations. I'm your host, Charles Douglas, CANTO's Vice Chairman and Senior Manager at Cable and Wireless. Today's discussion will dive into a timely and critical topic. Beyond the connection, delivering exceptional experiences for residents, small business, and visitors. We are thrilled to be joined by two industry leaders from Calix who bring unique insights and practical strategies on how service providers can move beyond just connectivity in order to deliver a truly differentiated customer experience. Before we begin, I just want to share a quick reminder. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, so we will be having a presentation from Calix for about 40-45 minutes, and then so you will have your opportunity to ask questions. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat at any time during the conversation, and we'll be taking them afterwards. Let me now introduce our featured speakers. First, Jacob Ferguson. He's Area Vice President at Calix, and he brings years of experience helping broadband providers develop exceptional managed services to unlock new revenue streams. We look forward to hearing from him. And joining him is Andrew Janz, Field Strategy Lead at Calix, who works closely with the service providers to build innovative subscriber-first strategies that drive community engagement and business growth. So Jacob, Andrew, nice to meet you. On behalf of the CANTO community, welcome to CANTO Conversations. We're delighted to have you both with us today, and welcome. Invite you to say a little bit about yourselves, but let me, before I introduce your presentation.
Sure. So, good afternoon, everybody, and good morning to my colleagues on the West Coast. My name is Jacob. I do live in Canada. I've been at Calix for just under 3 years, and to your point, I've been kind of tasked with the concept of bringing to market new solutions that kind of build on top of the basic access component of a broadband provider. So it's been really great, kind of understanding the entire gamut of our customers and the challenge that they tackle on a regular basis. And believe it or not, they're not all the same. And even though they're all in the same industry, they're not the same. So it's been great. My background, I have a very short stint within telecommunications many years ago. Actually, Andrew and I did work together at one point, but mainly around software and data and analytics. And that's proved very valuable in this area because at this stage of the game, especially with AI and everything that's going on, the concept around data and how we go to market is really, really prevalent. So this industry has been extremely eye-opening and quite fulfilling. So a little bit about me, Andrew.
You got it. Andrew Janz, a lot of folks call me AJ. It's an honor to be here. First of all, I have to say, I've personally visited 7 islands in the area, so that's great. And my honeymoon with my lovely wife, Melissa, was in Grenada. So love it there. It's so, so beautiful. So I've been with Calix 6 years now, and I lead field strategy for anything go-to-market, sales and marketing, our smart home platform, and that's really what I'm passionate about. I've got a background in software as a service, data center, whole bunch of stuff that I call it like the Karate Kid, doing a bunch of things that I think led me up to being here at Calix. If you remember that, the waxing cars and whatnot, why am I doing this? And it all comes together. So it's great to be here. I love Calix and love our customers. So it's great.
Thank you so much for giving an insight into both your background, and it's really appealing. Now I turn over to you to get into your awesome presentation.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well, now I'm trying to figure out if I start with the crane and kick off the presentation just like that.
Do it.
So again, thanks everybody for joining. I think this is going to be an impactful session. At least I hope it to be an impactful session for you. So really where we want to start is if Jess, I don't know if you're controlling. Okay, awesome. Yeah, if you're controlling there. So where we want to start is kind of from the beginning, right? You've built something fantastic, right? You've built something that people rely on, right, within your network. And as far as a comparative, we're going to compare this to a highway throughout the presentation, but a highway with many lanes can accommodate many vehicles. But at some point, if there's no vehicles and there's no experience on it, what is it? It's no longer a highway at that point. Kind of similar to if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? And that's really the comparative that we're making here. So what we're going to talk through today is the highway is only the beginning. Your network is only the beginning. So as we think about it, right, a highway has the vehicles on it, right? We've got trucks, we've got minivans and motorcycles and so on, but the experience that people are driving from the network has changed immensely. So the access to Amazon, right? If I have a cell phone, my kids don't determine that cell phone as a means to call people. What do? They use it to Snapchat their friends or send silly pictures of their feet or whatever to their buddies. And I don't understand it entirely, but it seems to be all they think about. But that's the experience. They tie themselves to that device. And effectively, the ability of having Wi-Fi is just a means of doing exactly that. So they don't see it as a speed. They don't see it as a LAN connection or a wireless connection or a Wi-Fi connection. If I were to ask them what the difference is between the internet and Wi-Fi, they're synonymous with each other. They don't know the difference between them. So the change has been the experience that people are requesting of that network or of that highway is really important. And we've got a couple of examples, right? Netflix is a perfect one. Although we all remember Blockbuster and somewhat miss it to some extent. My wife and I used to walk, down the street, spend an hour just messing around, find a bag of popcorn and do that stuff. So we kind of miss the experience of just leaving the house. But the simplicity of being able to do a streaming service right from the couch, find a movie that we both enjoy and kick off without having to really fuss about it. That's now the experience that I'm expecting. And really my connection to the internet is just facilitating the ability to watch the movie. So our subscribers are now requiring more and more and more from that connection or that highway. Okay, next slide, please. So given that, we have somewhat of two paths. We could probably argue that there's 3 or 4 different paths, but there is really 2 paths. And I think most companies, and this isn't unique to the Caribbean by no stretch, this is kind of across the board globally, but there is really 2 paths that we can go down, right? We can continue down the left side, which is speed and advertising that, hey, listen, you need to go faster, right? A faster speed means more things to be able to do, more devices connected, which means your kids are going to get to, Twitter or whatever as fast as possible. That sounds like there's a value prop there, but in reality, the connection that you have today is getting them as fast as they could possibly get, right? So getting it any quicker is really not the experience that we're talking about. Really what we're talking about is that adding another lane to your highway, if there's not enough, or if there's no real traffic, there's no traffic problem, it's really no value to the end subscriber. So they're asking for more. And in almost all cases, really what they're looking for is, who am I as a human, right? What do I do on a regular day-to-day? These are the things that I want to connect with, right? We talked about Netflix, we talked about Twitter and everything else. These are the things that I identify as. So the experience that I'm having on the internet or with your services is really what I'm asking for, right? I have kids. I have a means to protect them. I want to make sure that I'm protecting them from the things the nefarious items that are on the websites. That's important to me. So me as a human, I'm not a speed person. I'm now a protection person. I want to make sure that there are seat belts on my car. And that's what I'm looking for as an experience. So think about, as we're going through the presentation, think about the people around you and who they are as humans. You know, do they have dogs? Do they have family members? Do they have elderly parents, or are they elderly themselves? These are the things that will identify what they're going to be looking for in a partnership with you as their service provider. Next slide, please. So I want to pose a question. As you continue to expand your services, right, what are the things that you believe are going to benefit your community the most? So there should be a poll on your screen right now. Education and remote learning, healthcare, telemedicine, telehealth, growing your small business, right? Service levels, streaming services, entertainment. We just got a couple more seconds here. I can't see all attendees, so if somebody could let me know if, oh, there we go. Yeah. 15 to 25. There we go. Give it another 10 seconds here.
We got to get to 80%. 80%. That's the goal.
That's the number.
Sitting at 60. Just a few more.
Okay. Looks like we stalled out. Let's cut it there. So let's see the results here. So 40% looking at education and remote learning. That's fantastic. I love that one. 20% in healthcare and telemedicine, 27% in growing the small business market and remote work. And in last place, we've got access to entertainment and streaming service, which by the way, you know, I think the fact that it's so prevalent in the market and everybody consumes streaming services, I think everybody would kind of assume that, hey, this is going to be the first thing that's going to come up. But because it's already there, right, we're already going to see disruption, and we're already deprioritizing it as a way to expand our network. So I think that actually, now that I say it, it kind of makes sense. That's fantastic. Let's close that. Okay. So this is not the first time that this has happened. Like the concept of disruption is somewhat, right, an inevitability, right? We know that everything from a business perspective is going to get disruption. But this is something that you're going to experience today. You're going to experience it 2 years from now. You're going to experience it 10 or 15 years from now with AI and, you know, everything that we're going to be generating across all the different industries and the things that we're running into with technology today. So let's go to the next one. And let me give you a kind of a visual component of it. I did tell you that I did have a small stint in telecommunications many years ago. Although, you know, looking back, it seemed like it was a big part of my history. It was actually a relatively small time frame, but it was during a time when we were making a transition. We as a human race, I guess, we're going through a transition from flip phones into smartphones. And I definitively remember the first Palm Pilot, the first BlackBerry that came to market, how expensive they were, how ridiculous the data prices were, right? Nobody wanted to get into it because you really just didn't understand exactly how it was going to fit into your life. But it paid so well to sell these things as a salesperson. So you tried so hard to articulate the value, but people just, you know, it was a matter of understanding where the world was going. And we all didn't really understand it. I still wanted to have a flip phone and I worked for the company. But even during that same time, right, we were selling phones that sat in a bag, big, huge receiver on it, and they would go into big semi trucks and they would drive throughout the country. And cellular coverage was great, but for whatever reason, they had to be in these big boxes. But you can see the transition that we went through. And in a short amount of time, the technology had changed immensely just from a form factor perspective. But this image on the right-hand side is somewhat reflective of what I wanted to talk about today, which is, so when the original Pope, I got to remember which one it was, but back in 2025, right, you can see that there's really nobody holding up a phone, right? They're in the moment, they're taking it in themselves, right? So that's again, I think it's Pope Benedict the 16th, I guess. And then in 2013, when Pope Francis was inaugurated, the only thing you see in the crowd is cell phones, right? And no different than today when Pope Leo is inaugurated just a couple of days ago. All of a sudden, right, the technology hasn't changed, the form factor hasn't changed, but what they're doing on the phone has drastically changed. And we already talked about some of the examples earlier. So just having the physical form factor really hasn't changed over the last 10 to 15 years, but what they're using it for has. And that's the highway comparative, right? The highway was the physical form factor, and now the vehicle and the experience that we're experiencing on those devices has drastically changed. So a great example of what we're talking about today. So I mentioned, and Canadian, this one hits home for me, right? BlackBerry was one of these unicorn stories in Canada, right? Tech giant taking over the world as far as, you know, having smartphones in everybody's hands. And BlackBerry was poised to be really great, right? They had contracts with the federal government. They were known for secure encryption, BBM or BlackBerry Messenger. If anybody did have a BlackBerry, they'd know what I'm talking about. And a relatively innovative design at the time, especially when you had the little pearl in the middle or the wheel on the side. That just didn't exist. But it didn't last very long. It lasted for a little bit. But if we go to the next slide, this is really the problem. Is BlackBerry rested on its laurels a little bit, understood that it had a value within the federal government, but kind of took its eye off the ball on what people were asking for, right? At the time, there were apps, you know, even though they had a small app store, everybody loved Brick Breaker, but that doesn't compare with some of the games that we're seeing today on your mobile handheld, especially on an iPhone. So were they oblivious to the innovation? Did they not understand where the market was going? Did they understand what the consumer was asking for as opposed to just the business, right? The business user, right? As a business user, we wanted the ability to tap out an email or a text message really quickly on the physical keyboard. Love that part of it. But when you're traveling and it's your personal device and you have kids, not having the ability to entertain them on the side, again, Brick Breaker was great, but was not resonating with kids under the age of 25. So it's something that they missed out on, and somewhat late to the game when they launched tablets. I don't even think they even launched them. You know, they sat in a warehouse for a year, and they missed the boat. And you know, we know that story. And although RIM, I think, exists today to some extent in the background, they're not the tech giant that they once were. Okay. So it has happened before, and it's happening again within transportation, right? So without me even going to the next slide, you probably understand where we're going with this. Uber took over the taxi cab industry in just a couple of years, right? Completely upside down. So the ability to request a ride, press a button that's dedicated to you, you know, you didn't have to fight the person next to you or have that awkward moment. Hey, do you want to share this cab? Are you going upstate or are you going up the city? That's true innovation. And in just a short few years, obviously they had to go through a lot of regulatory approvals and things like that. But you know the experience that you're going to get. You can see the person who's going to pick you up. You can see the vehicle that they're going to be driving. You can see their star rating and what other people say about them. So before they even get there, you know what you're having, and that's something that has not been done before. So effectively, over the course of just a few years, the taxi cab, although there's taxi cabs all over the place still, they're their business model has changed entirely. Their pricing models have changed, and really that entire industry has been turned upside down. So again, this is not the first time this has happened. Right? We're going to see more. We're going to see more, and we're going to see more. So now, if we think about, we'll still use Uber as the example, and like every industry, competition came knocking. Right? We have Lyft. Right? There's a few other services that I only use those two, so I can't tell you which ones they are. But Uber had to innovate. And although the platform was solid, the actual bones of the application, right? Let's consider that part the highway. The experience on that highway has changed, and the consumer is demanding that it change because there is competition, there's options. So now within Uber, you can now get Uber Eats, right? You can get your food delivered to you at any point in time, connect you to whatever restaurants that are nearby. And I mean, not just McDonald's and KFC and whatever else that you like as far as fast food, but it's gourmet food as well, right? Restaurants that you frequent on a Saturday, and maybe you just don't have the ability to go there this weekend and take somebody out on a date. Maybe you've got kids at home and they want to have some good food as well. Now you have the ability to have restaurant quality food delivered right to your door. That's fantastic. You can send flowers to your husband or wife, right? Anytime you want. Pick up a meal for a family member that's sick, right? Send them some soup. Send a car for your significant other when they land from the airport, and then be able to track them along the way so that you can ensure their safety and know exactly when they're going to be getting home, so you can surprise them with those flowers and that meal. That's an experience, and those are all within the application today. But the application was just the highway, and now they've converted themselves to that experience and started tailoring their messaging to it. So even in this new technology, or relatively new technology, experience has become the forefront, and it's changed. So somewhat redundant here, but it's almost always about customer, right? What are they looking for? What's the experience they're expecting? And it's not about just having polls and questions and asking them. You are going to have them look to you as a technology partner, or they're going to be looking to you for services that you may not have thought of. And that's a great thing. They're willing to communicate, and they're willing to tell you about it. So in short, what does that mean for us? Like, what do we have to do in order to combat this? And it's a good thing, right? Competition is good. Innovation is good. It means that we're going to be able to grow as a community, as a society. So if we can go to the next slide. So within our industry today, we're going to transition now from the obscure philosophical highway analogy, and we're going to come back to broadband or just network in general. The subscriber is changing. They're getting more connected devices. They want to be more understood. They know that having a solid connection within their home or their business is kind of a requirement, but they want to do more with it. So they're not just satisfied with connectivity. They require a digital experience. They want something that caters to their lifestyle. Like I said before, do I have kids? Do I have dogs? Do I run on a regular basis and I'm outside, or I'm outdoorsy? Do I like to cook in the backyard and do barbecues? Do I frequent sporting events? Things like that, right? That's who I am, right? And that's what I want to be known for. So they want somebody or a provider that addresses those challenges and navigates those technology landscapes. Okay. So real quick, we want to exceed customer expectations or subscriber expectations almost always, right? And not every subscriber has the same needs. So some people, like I said earlier, right? Some people have kids, so they want a safe and reliable network. Some people want to have managed services, right? They don't want to manage their IT, so they want to look to you to be able to manage it for them. Maybe just the ability to talk to somebody, right? They don't like talking to an AI chatbot all the time. Maybe they just want to communicate with somebody. These are parts of the story, right? And not everybody is the same. AJ and I, right? I might prefer to talk to the AI chatbot because I don't want to talk to a human. They maybe I'm nervous and I get confused. And AI, I'm used to talk to robots now. AJ, maybe not so much. He's much more people person. You'll hear him in a second. He's much more articulate too. So it's a different dynamic for all groups. And we have to be okay with that. And we have to be able to tailor our experiences across the board. Okay. So Amidia did a quick poll, and part of that was, hey, what are you looking for? What do subscribers look for? And as you can see on this list, speed is not even on the top 5, right? They're looking for work from home. They're looking for cybersecurity. They're looking for Wi-Fi management. They're looking for support on connected devices, which is really interesting because you buy them from all over the place. So being able to support those is really challenging. Video streaming, which we talked about during the poll at the very beginning, and a gaming experience, which again, I thought that would have been closer to the top based on how well or how popular gaming is today. These are personal traits, and that's why people are resonating with these components. So if we go to the next one, let's talk about Linda. So the emotional connection to a human being, right? We're talking about the personas of these individuals. They're much more complex. They're not every single subscriber is the same. They've got different needs, and you got to be able to take all these bubbles and more or less create a grocery bag that fits with Linda. And I'll give you a quick example, right? Like I said, I have kids and dogs, and I like to go outside and all those pieces, but nobody really identifies themselves as a 500 megger or a 1 gigger, right? The speed component of it is not part of my persona. I don't know what I have at home. All I know is that my kids can get on when I'm at home. Everybody's fast, everybody's happy, everybody's protected. I'm good. But speed doesn't come into play at all. So being able to tailor that experience to my needs is exactly what I'm looking for. And believe it or not, because I don't think about it doesn't mean I don't value it. It's that I don't talk about it that I value it, right? I've got different things to do, right? And this is a big part of it, talking to you guys. So and which I love to do. Okay. So where do we go from here? Sorry, switch here. So we need to serve customers in a different way. We talked about that. So new market trends, being able to respond to these trends, that's what we're focused on. So I'm going to keep going here as we make through it. So we can do 2 things. We can either do it ourselves, right? We can try to create all these experiences, and we can try to build the network and build that highway ourselves. But that's really difficult, and it requires a lot of resources and time. Or we can work with a partner that has all of these things, and from an end-to-end component of it, fully integrated, and everything is built into one package. And of course, we are referring to Calix in this particular case, but it's really meant to say there are options for you, right? Everything is hard on the left-hand side, right? It's time-consuming and it costs a lot of money. There are people that have gone out here and done this and built it all for you. Okay. So let me give you kind of an overview. Calix is built around these 3 principles, right? We are here to simplify your operations, right? Simplify your business and simplify the service that you're delivering, right? And in turn, you're dropping operational costs, right? You're more or less simplifying the operations within your business, even the human aspect of it, right? It's how you actually address the subscribers, right? It's a much more simple process. Innovation, right? Being able to understand the consumer market, the business market, and even the community, right? And apply different value-added services to be able to support those pieces. And then in turn, because of those 2 things, right? You're dropping operational expense and you're offering up new services that are value-based, obviously increasing some ARPU component. Your business now will effectively grow. And that's our value proposition in a nutshell within 3 words. And we live and die by it. So we're really proud of these 3 things. So really fast, we've done a ton of investment. Sorry, if you want to go to the next slide here. We put a ton of investment into our our services, right? Over the course, I can't remember if it's $1.5 billion or if it's a $1.2 billion, but every little icon that you see there has been some type of iteration of a new product or new service that we've launched since the inception of Calix. And we've made this transition from just a hardware company or a systems company into a true cloud-based software platform, right? End-to-end solution for broadband companies. And really, the real differentiator is that sea of people at the very bottom, which is our success team, a world-class success team that is there to support our entire customer base on not just go-to-market strategies, not just implementation and hardware technicians all the way through. It's the entire story from start to finish, right? Everything from the back end operations all the way to the front end sales acceleration components of it. So there's success people throughout that entire journey for you. Okay. Next slide, please. So end-to-end management, what does that mean, right? So we've got intelligent access and unlimited subscribers. So from the gateways all the way to the actual cloud components that support those gateways, everything is built under one platform. So whether we release another piece of equipment or another system throughout the next few years, it will be common and be able to be supported on the existing cloud platform as it sits today. And then as we build out that foundation, we can now layer on new value-added services. And today we're talking about, or today we've released, Smart Home, Smart Town, Smart Biz, and Smart MDU, which AJ will get into in a second here. But in reality, we're talking about real-time network services. We're talking about visibility and operational efficiency, being able to consolidate everything under one network, and then having a standards-based, extremely fast integration, APIs everywhere, but everything is standardized, easy to manage, and you have one common platform to be able to manage your network for the next however many years, as long as we iterate. Okay. Next piece, please. So hang on, am I doing your stuff here, AJ? I think I might be. I apologize. I think I was talking over. I apologize. You should have cut me off.
That's totally okay, my friend. You did a great job.
I'm gonna hand over to AJ here. I'm sorry.
No, seamless handover, my friend. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Folks, so good. Thank you, Jacob, for that. And the lead into platforms, so everything you talked about with Uber and experience, that's the transition into saying, okay, how did we actually do this? And when I look at this slide, if I transition into this, it's to say this. We don't believe that one system solves for everything. You have multiple use cases. You have outdoor hardened, you've got residential single family apartments, community Wi-Fi. You need stuff that takes you a mile. You need stuff that is for outdoor or backyard. So many different applications. Here's the beauty with platform. We've built this platform that separates hardware from software, allows you to innovate and move quickly. And these systems are all interchangeable. So it doesn't matter. Mix and match, add mesh, no matter what. It's all the same platform, the same cloud managing everything. So that's the beauty of, being able to move quickly. And next slide, that speaks to, how we help you with lowering your operational expenses and increasing revenue. So what I just said around one cloud to help you manage the entire environment seamlessly and easily, that's by far, the biggest reason we have the lowest total cost of ownership in the industry because of that. And cloud's at the center. We've got three personas. When we think of cloud, I actually sometimes like to shorten these words. Instead of saying engagement, operations, service, I say, look, it's an action. We want to help you engage your subscribers, operate your network, and then serve your customers and subscribers. I think about all of Jacob's examples with like who he is and who I am and who we all are as people, or Linda, the example of Linda. Think about being able to engage them with data, knowing who your subscribers are. We're so used to personalized emails, personalized outreaches from Amazon, from Apple, from all of these, world-class organizations. Well, guess what? Our platform allows our broadband service providers to punch above their weight class and act and respond just like an Apple or Amazon. That's what our platform allows you to do. And so it's very exciting. Next slide. I'm going to just take out of the cloud portfolio. I want to start with managed Wi-Fi. I mean, this is really the core. Where does it all start from? Jacob mentioned, customers, subscribers, all of us, internet and Wi-Fi is completely interchangeable. We don't see it as separate. As a matter of fact, we have several service providers that have just embraced that. And when you go to their website, it won't even say get internet with whomever. It'll just say, Wi-Fi. We have one organization that calls their customer service reps Wi-Fi wizards. Super fun, right? They're just embracing the concept. And so with Calix, it starts with a world-class access control in what we call Service Cloud. Absolutely the best in the industry, award-winning, that allows you to completely manage the in-home experience. Next slide. And all backed up by an application that the subscriber can interact with. And here's the thing I would say about this app. Here's the deal. It's the kind of thing that in many ways subscribers don't necessarily know how to articulate. Oh, I need to have this. It's like now that you have it in your hands, you're thinking, oh, what did I do without this? And when I think about, my kids are growing up now, but when I think about years ago when we were, the kids were browsing the internet in the early 2000s, I wish I had content filtering, parental controls, et cetera, et cetera. I can't believe what's available for parents today, because that would have given me a lot more peace of mind. One of the things I love about that I use now that my kids are grown up, but is the network security, right? And I didn't know it until I started with Calix, and I actually, overlaid the GigaSpire, our product, our system, and our application over top of the service provider I use. And with the network security, I started getting these notifications that certain things were getting blocked on my IoT and my HomePods and different things. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh man, this is awesome. I'm getting protected with this application and with the service. So it really is one of those things that you want to put this in their hands as table stakes. This is just what comes with your service. When you're connected, you're protected. And so that's kind of the concept that we see around, this kind of application. Next slide. And all of that to say, moving from a speed provider to experience. And if I might, I think stories are powerful. And I want to share a small story about an experience I had with a local service provider. Now, they're a national provider in Canada, and they blew my mind with what they could do. And I tell this story because our customers can do this same thing with the platform that we provide. So I have multiple things with my local provider. To Jacob's point, I don't even know what speed I have, but I've got security, I've got some cameras, I've got a bunch of things, including a television and whatnot. But I've got a door lock with them as well. And I got a notification that said your door lock isn't working. Now, you would think, being a technologist and everything, that I would automatically realize it might be the batteries, but I obviously was busy. And the first thing I did was, okay, I gotta call my provider. And I'm in my mid-50s, so I still call. So you have to have multiple channels. My kids said to me, what are you thinking? You can use chat and all this stuff. But anyways, I called. And they picked up right away, which was amazing. That was one thing that was cool. I had about 15, 20 seconds with the rep to explain my issue when my boss called, and I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I got to go. I'll call you back. I answered my boss's call, and we carried on. I forgot about this, completely forgot. 3 days later, I get a delivery, a little box from UPS. In the box, a set of batteries, and a personal note from the rep saying, have a great day. this, this was your issue with the door lock. I actually feel emotional telling it every time because I just can't believe the personal touch. So I tell that story to say, first of all, wow, that blew me away as far as experience. But secondly, this is exactly the kind of thing you can do with Calix. So just as an anecdotal reference, we have a partnership with a company called Arlo. They do cameras. They integrate with our service cloud. So a CSR or a Wi-Fi wizard could have taken that call and seen, oh, their batteries is 0% and send batteries in the mail. So it's a great example about how we can go way beyond just internet and speed and provide great experience. Next slide. All of that to say, the other thing that I love talking a lot about too is what's behind all of the things that we do. And again, Jacob touched on this. When I just mentioned earlier network security. And, if I just say it to you that way, hey, would you like to have network security with XYZ Communications? I don't know. I'm not sure. Or if I were to say, you know what? At XYZ Communications, we believe that families shouldn't have to worry about their personal information being hacked. Whoa, different story. Suddenly you've got me and I understand, and it speaks to my why. So that's really the pursuit that we're on is figuring out what is the why behind all of this, and how can we help you leverage our platform to bring these things to bear for your customers. Next slide. So all of that to say, that is what birthed SmartLife. So this platform has evolved. We've invested more than $1 billion. Well, we haven't. Jacob and I haven't. It's been Carl Russo, our founder, and more. SmartLife. What is SmartLife? Well, as we began to evolve and bring services and applications to market, which, by the way, and again, Jacob touched on this, but let's say you just wanted to build your own app. I mean, I spent a couple of years in the application space, 18 to 24 months just to build your own, for sure. And I worked with customers that tried to do this. Then you've got to iterate on it, innovate on it. You've got to, constantly evolve, et cetera. Just that one piece. And that's the power of platform, is that we've built this one-to-many. It's scalable. And by the way, we're doing this with your brand. We don't want your customers, your subscribers knowing about us. We're the silent partner. We're here to build your brand up. And that's where SmartLife has been birthed. So you can go to market with these services in 2 months or less, instead of the 18 to 24 months and doing it yourself. And we're innovating every 91 days. I think we're on our 65th iteration over the last number of years. Every 91 days, more services, more things coming to market that you just get automatically. Because it's a platform. So that's really what SmartLife is. Now, in the interest of time, and we've got, let's say, 6 minutes left before we get to questions, we only have time to cover one. So I'm going to highlight Smart Biz, if I might. And it actually, I think, works well with the poll that came out as business was a little further up the chain. So let's talk about how we pivot the platform to support small businesses. Well, we saw a tremendous opportunity in this space. Why? Because, and I think you would probably corroborate this, everyone we spoke to really didn't have anything for small business only. Either A, they were repackaging residential services for a smaller business, right? Just voice and data, maybe some mesh, maybe add a white glove service, more support, that kind of thing. Or it was enterprise, right? It was full on firewall, Sophos, that kind of thing, and much too complex and costly for a smaller business. So they're really left without the kinds of services, though, that can really support them. Next slide. And looking at the market for your market, certainly this is a big area, right? So small and medium enterprises representing quite a large portion of the business. And of course, you've got a lot of folks like me coming down, and so I'm coming to coffee shops and doing all the things, and so a lot of business down there supporting, the industry, the travel industry. Next slide. And there are challenges, right? So we're looking at some of these statistics that we found, moving more to digital transactions, ransomware attacks, huge, and so how can you leverage something more than just a residential solution to provide the kinds of services these businesses require, but at a a cost that makes sense. And by the way, in a lot of cases, service providers are packaging a business solution as a residential, charging a little more, but there's not much there. And so you'll see in this solution, we're able to pivot our platform to provide some really cool things that are truly plug and play. You can stand up a SmartBiz customer in short order. Next slide. So what is it that a small business is really facing, right? They've got no IT staff. They've got no free time to look at any of this stuff. And they're wanting to somehow engage their customers in a way that they can expand their business. Maybe they want to send offerings to them, et cetera, but they really don't have time to do all this. And SmartBiz steps in to do just that. Next slide. So here's some of the highlights. And again, it's all about pivoting the platform. It's kind of cool we haven't talked about our smart home platform. That's where we started. And if you look at what's available in smart home and the way platform works, we could take that and say, okay, let's add in a few other components and let's reskin some things, pivot some things, and SmartBiz just works regardless of the system in the background. So what have we done? The application I showed you earlier, well, we've just taken that and said, let's build one for business specific. It looks and feels a lot the same, but it's got some very key differences. One is dedicated Wi-Fi networks. So they're isolated, prioritized network traffic that's pre-done, right? So for network, for point of sale, for a staff network, for the management network, and for a guest network, all pre-built, right? Award-winning cybersecurity automatically included. Here's one. The network resilience, I'm trying to think if it's actually on there, business continuity or network resilience. When I think about the digital payments going up, well, this feature gives the business owner cellular backup capability in case the network goes down, so they can keep running their business and accepting payments. Really critical. And that can pay for probably a year's worth of broadband service if their network goes down for too long, right? Because they got to keep running their business. So network resilience, content filtering, and then you see the visitor Wi-Fi portal. Love this one. And it works so seamlessly. I love showing this in the app. A business owner can take the app, put in their logo, their main hex code colors, add a caption, and create a nice, secure Wi-Fi portal for their customers. So if you think about competing, let's say, against the likes of a Starbucks, who's, has all these capabilities, now that smaller coffee shop can look and feel like that, punch above their weight class, and deliver a great service to their customers who maybe want to come there to work away from home and know that they've got a secure environment to do that. So an incredible amount of capabilities within our SmartBiz platform. And this is just a brief high-level overview. And we'd love to, of course, take it offline with anyone to dig even deeper. Last slide. All that to say, it's a platform. The beautiful thing about a partnership with Calix, and I'll add this, I came to Calix originally because of this, and I've stayed, one of the biggest reasons I've stayed is because of this, is no one is doing what we're doing. And I'm really excited about that. Our transformation into a platform company wasn't easy, but we've done it, and we've established that now and doing incredibly well. Thanks to our customers who have partnered with us to do this. And it's just beginning. And the way we're moving forward as a platform, there's more and more coming that you just get access to. In fact, you're going to see some announcements later this year for new products that are coming out. And in some cases, just come as part of your subscription, right? We don't want to charge you for everything. Some of us just come, here you go. This is just growing and you get this. So we're excited about the future and expanding and allowing you to go to market and differentiate yourselves from being a speed provider to a full experience provider. So there we go. We're at the 10-minute mark. And Charles, we'll hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Jacob and Andrew. Well presented. I'm sure if the team online could respond, then with some emojis or so, that would be great. There is a poll. Are you interested in learning more about Calix broadband platform and opportunities to enhance your subscriber experience? And pretty much, yeah, the answer is yes. Look, it was just amazing, well presented, concise. Our minds are going, at 100 miles an hour. We need to catch up. So let me ask the audience that please drop your questions in the chat, and allow me to ask them to get your responses. First question, and you don't have to be specific, right? Are you getting a lot of collaboration from service providers in the Caribbean? Do you have a lot of partners here? High, medium, low? How would you respond?
That's a good question. At the current moment, things have ramped up extremely fast. So something has happened in the last 365 days that all of a sudden the timing seems to be right in the Caribbean. So the answer is yes, lots of collaboration. Different companies in different parts of their journey. So we're working through all of those conversations. So yes.
And if there's any way that CANTO can help facilitate connections, access, to have conversations, you are more than welcome. I mean, it would be our privilege to use our platform to do that, because clearly it is what is needed at this time. Now, would you say you have a lot of competitors? You say you're on the cutting edge, you're leading. Is any delay in your access to the Caribbean due to competitors in the space, or is a lack of awareness or sort of urgency on the part of service providers or players?
That's a good question. So we do have competitors in the area, not many, but a few. It's really meeting each broadband company where they're at, and everybody's at a different stage of their journey. So there's really no barrier per se. There are some limitations in different markets based on data privacy and things like that, which we're working through. That's a Calix thing, but not really a hurdle that's keeping us through it. So we can't really run through these hurdles. We do have to delicately jump over them, but we're working through those right now.
Thank you. Still looking for questions in the chat. And if I'm missing them, please call me out, Jimmy. So your presentation was so powerful that the question is, why aren't we further along already? That's the question, right? Because it just seems right. Everything you said about building your own app in our companies, we've had our own experiences about trying to pursue roadmap for various. It's very long, it's very difficult, and sometimes at the end you're not quite satisfied, right? So from your point of view, and I know this probably is a subjective question, and I think it may have come in the chat, the question was there. For your offerings, do you find cost to be almost the primary barrier, or maybe the lower pools in the Caribbean? So as a region, is cost a factor?
I can chime in on that one. I would say that the biggest barrier is really transformation of an organization. So cost is never a concern. What's bigger is how do we transform from speed to experience? As soon as that happens, truly the cost becomes irrelevant, because of how you're going to market. Now, every market is unique as well, to your point around the Caribbean compared to others, but we have stories within, I would say areas similar to the Caribbean of where when you're speaking the language of experience, it changes the game entirely. We've been doing a lot of work with our service providers around VBOs, or value-based offers. It's been transformational. And if I would suggest a follow-up, that'd be one area we could go down that's been tremendous in terms of the results we've seen. So.
Understood. Good feedback. Good feedback. I'd like to unbundle cost a little bit, just to ask. When I reach out to Calix, is it that my billing system has to be the most modern, my processes, my procurement, so that I will have to then change other IT stack to be ready for your platform? Or do I just need connectivity to your platform and then your software does the rest? In other words, are we ready for you?
Yeah, by and large, I would say absolutely. And we integrate billing you mentioned from an OSS BSS is one of the primary things that we integrate with. I mean, we've got dozens and dozens of partners that we do that with. We also have done bespoke things. I've got one. There's a bunch of SPs in the Idaho area, for example, that built their own billing system. I mean, it was pretty kind of cobbled together, I'll argue. And we were able to integrate with that billing system separately. That's just something we just go down that project, make sure we're creating that integration as far as capabilities. Once that's done, it's done. And then it really becomes our platform that takes over from there. And there's other APIs and integrations that can come into play. But yes, that is, I would say, not a barrier. It might be some work to be done, depending. But yeah, not a barrier.
Yeah,
No,
and just to add to that, I don't think the Caribbean is unique in the sense of what technology, and we'll use OSS BSS partners as an example, that are available to you, right? Like we typically serve and have traditionally served, the tier 3, the tier 2 broadband market for the better part of countless decades, and only recently expanding into tier 1 and doing really well there. So we've seen the gamut. Like we've seen every single iteration of each BSS and OSS and how the backend systems operate. So if we haven't seen it, that would be surprising. So yeah, to AJ's point, there might be some work to do, but you're ready. You're ready.
Excellent. Let me search to see if I'm missing a question. Okay, let me ask. So from your SmartLife portfolio, which was quite comprehensive, you're saying a company could just select one aspect of that portfolio and say, I would like to work with you on this. Smart home, smart business, a B2B enterprise could say, look, I just want to engage with you just on this portfolio for my business customers. That would be fine. How does that work?
Correct. Yeah, you could start, you have nothing with us, and you could just start with SmartBiz and respond to the business community. The other thing you could do, and we didn't talk about this, but you could also do something off net. If you have an area where you don't have service, you could, and maybe a market you're wanting to enter, you could start with overlaying SmartBiz services there. So absolutely, you can start with that. I'll also add, from a cloud perspective, when I talked about engaging your customers, you could start just with that and not have a single piece of Calix hardware. I have several stories around customers that have started with Calix that way, because knowing your subscribers and who they are is a tremendous benefit to figuring out where you want to go next. So, Jacob, I don't know if you add anything to that.
Yeah, and back to my comment around meeting everybody where they're at. To AJ's point, we have customers that are really, really good at doing one component of the business, right? Maybe it's just residential, and then they're leveraging Engagement Cloud to figure out, hey, do we even want to get into the SMB market? And that's their first foray into a relationship with Calix, and vice versa, where we have customers that are jumping into the pool specifically to tackle their SMB market, and they're more or less just leading the charge through there. So the answer is yes, you can start at any point where you're at based on what's going to make the most impact to your business. Absolutely.
No, thank you. Time is on us, and I can't help but just express on behalf of all attendees, CANTO at large, it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you so much for having this recorded, and it's going to serve us well and our membership can listen back to the audio and so on. So, I mean, just amazing. We're really grateful. And again, the last plug I make is where CANTO as our organization secretariat can be of assistance to Calix in making connections across the Caribbean. We are more than willing and stand by ready to do so and build on that and continue to do so. So thank you, gentlemen, very, very much.
And if you want us to come on site, no argument here.
No worries, we'll be in touch.
You got it.
Thank you, Canto members. Really appreciate it.
My prayer is that my organization is already working with you, but
There you go.
I yield, right? So
Awesome.
let me just
you,
get
everyone.
through some quick announcements. Thank you again, gentlemen, as we wrap up our CANTO Conversations for today. Please mark your calendars for the next CANTO Conversation happening on Wednesday, May 29th at 12 p.m. AST time. The topic will be boosting career capital, the financial upsides of device buyback programs. Let me repeat that. Boosting career capital, the financial upsides of device buyback programs. We will be joined by Adam Taylor, Business Development Associate at Newark, who will then explore leveraging used devices to free up capital, to increase non-traditional revenues, as well as to reduce operational costs. We'll take a deep dive into the wholesale buyback trading market and certified pre-owned programs, something that a lot of us may not be familiar with. So you really don't want to miss it. You can find the registration link in the chat and more details on our social media channels. Second, we are urging you all to finalize your plans to attend CANTO's 40th annual conference and trade exhibition taking place July 13th through 16th, 2025 at the Grand Hyatt Bahamar in Nassau, the Bahamas. Of course, this is our flagship event. It will bring together, telecom providers, ICT leaders from across the region, government ministers, regulators, so that we can connect, collaborate, and shape the future of our industry. In conclusion, again, let me just say a special thank you to our speakers, Jacob and Andrew, of course, and all who have joined us. We look forward to seeing you again on May 29th and at CANTO 25 in the Bahamas. Until then, stay safe, stay connected, and keep driving innovations in your communities. Thank you very much. Have a great day.